Welcome to another edition of Karjaka and Coffee. This is episode 15, and as you can see, I've recorded a few of these today, so we're going to stick with some water. But we get a little bit of the audio of me sipping. Here's the deal. So I've gotten some questions on street photography, and so I thought I'd give you some ideas on that. And by ideas, I mean, like, do I do street photography that is not portrait based? Like, yes, I think all photographers should explore other versions of the craft outside of their preferred discipline within photography. For me, I have all these fun film cameras. Hey, will you hand me that Leica right there? Yeah, that one. My handy assistant, Justin. So this is my Leica M3. We're just kind of riffing with this for a second. This is my Leica M3. I bought it from PhotoCare, Jeff Hirsch over there, during the pandemic of all times, or I think it was like right before the pandemic. Anyway, this is one of my favorite cameras to shoot with. It's German. It is fantastic. I love the sound of this camera so much. And when I'm on the street, it is a delight to photograph with. And here's the deal. Like, I might be photographing buildings. I might be photographing street scenes or construction or flowers. I usually have black and white. So I'm always kind of thinking in that kind of mood, that mode. But I find that by shooting on the street or just carrying around a camera, like, even if I'm not taking a photograph, it's always kind of shaping how I'm thinking about like different scenes. Or if I was doing a portrait, how I would take the photograph here. Or I'm looking at the light. Okay, this is at 2:00 versus at noon or in this area. Like, I will walk around and sometimes just have my hands here because it gets me, it's like Pavlovian. I'm already thinking about taking photographs. Now, there are a lot of photographers that are street photographers, and they will, like Bruce Gilden, like Elliot Erwitt, like even the late great Bill Cunningham, like they'll get up in your face and they'll take type portraits. And some people are into it, like as street, as just passerbys on the street. And some people like Henry Cartier-Bresson, like he was always at a distance stalking his subjects, photographing people from a distance. Bruce tends to get up in your face, not unlike who else am I thinking? Friedlander and Robert Frank, depending on who your desired street photographers are. And again, that's like Robert Frank, Lee Friedlander, Bruce Gilden, Gary Winogrand, Henri Cartier-Bresson, like the list goes on, like Gordon Parks, Richard Avedon, like, even though he shot a lot of stuff, fashion, still did some street work. Depending on who you are interested in, like, will also shape like how you're on the street, how you photograph. And for me, excuse me, I'm gonna take a sip of water. While I don't consider myself a street photographer, I appreciate and learn so much from that craft that they had, and just I find I'll have 20 minutes to 30 minutes between meetings in Manhattan when I'm in the city. And so I'll just walk around with a camera, whether it's a digital or a film camera, or even sometimes my iPhone, to just kind of hone my skill. Now, if I'm photographing somebody and sometimes they'll come up to me and I got some dust in my throat. They'll come up to me and say did you take a photograph? Can we cut this out?
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. So we're back after having me cough into the camera and the mic. Sometimes I'll be on the street and somebody will be like, did you just take my photograph? And if I'm with the digital camera, I'd be like, yes. And they'll be like, can you, I don't give you permission to use that photograph. And I'll delete it, or people, for the most part, people don't want confrontation, at least here in New York. So they'll just kind of give you a side eye. And that's how photography's kind of been built over the years. Is how confrontational do you want to be? But I've been I think in the 13 years that I've been in New York, I've only had 2 or 3 instances where I was shooting with film, where I gave my word of honor. just like it's a roll of film. I've got 10 other images that are before it. I will not process your photo, or I will not use that photo. I will not. I know I don't have your permission. Technically, there are a variety of different rules and laws on the street as far as how, like, if you photograph a scene of people and there's a person that's in the photograph, but they're not the center of the focus of the photograph, you can publish into a variety of magazines or whatever, as long as they're not the focal point of that and not get into any kind of trouble. But generally speaking, when in doubt, like if you got the shot in camera right there and then there, and you're like, I want to make that a part of my portfolio, then this is where you get to be uncomfortable and expand outside your reach and go up to that person and be like, hey, I've just captured this wonderful photograph. Here's my card, or here's my Instagram. I would love to tag you in it. And usually that's kind of, in today's world, it's kind of like, okay, that's fine. Like if you checked out some of my Monday musings, I photographed, there was a gal with a calf tattoo in Washington Square Park, and I was giving kind of a impromptu lesson at that time, and I walked over to the gal and I said, like, listen, I love your calf tattoo. Do you mind if I take a photograph of it, get low, get that photograph? And then afterwards, we swapped information. I found her tag on Instagram. We followed each other, and then we reposted it, and life continues on. And like, if Gagosian calls me tomorrow, the big gallery, and says, we want this photograph like on our wall, then I'm going to contact that gal and be like, hey, Gagosian wants us to sell this photograph. Like, do I have your permission? And she'll say, yes, these are my conditions. I want 20% or whatever. But that's a little bit further down the line. For you that are watching this right now, for the most part, it's kind of laissez-faire. Just kind of go with the flow. If there's confrontation, just delete the photo or work out some kind of like agreement. If you're like, this is the photo of my life, like there's always like, everything is negotiable. So that's kind of an overview of how to interact with people, how you should be studying photographers. Like for me, studying again, Lee Friedlander on the street, of how to be a better photographer when I'm in studio or when I'm doing my own photography, and how to just kind of broaden your mind. And that's episode 15 of Karjaka and Coffee. Don't forget to like and subscribe and do all those fun things that we say about at the end of every one of these Karjaka and Coffees. This is Alex wishing you happy stream photography. Hey.